In 1919, the First World War had finally ended. Europe was shattered, millions were dead, and the world struggled to rebuild from unimaginable destruction. Cities were destroyed, economies collapsed, and entire nations faced poverty and political chaos across a continent still scarred by war. The Treaty of Versailles forced Germany to accept blame for the war and pay enormous reparations to the victorious nations, instead of creating peace. The harsh treaty planted anger and resentment that would soon grow into something far more dangerous. During the 1930s, Germany faced severe economic crisis. Millions were unemployed, and many people desperately searched for hope and leadership. Amid the chaos, a powerful political figure promised to restore Germany's strength and pride. That man was Adolf Hitler, leader of the Nazi Party, whose speeches inspired both loyalty and fear. In 1933, Hitler had seized control of Germany and established a dictatorship that would soon change the course of history. Hitler secretly rebuilt Germany's military, ignoring the restrictions imposed after the First World War. Soon after, German forces marched into Austria, annexing the country and expanding Nazi territory. Next came Czechoslovakia, where German power continued to grow while the rest of Europe hesitated to respond. The world watched nervously as Nazi Germany expanded its influence across the continent. That on September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland, launching a sudden and devastating military assault. The attack used blitzkrieg, or lightning war, combining fast tanks, aircraft, and infantry to overwhelm defenses. Within weeks, Poland's armies were defeated as German forces advanced rapidly across the country. In response, Britain and France declared war on Germany, officially beginning the Second World War. Germany continued its rapid conquest, invading Denmark, Norway, Belgium, and the Netherlands. In 1940, the German army turned toward France. Despite having one of the strongest militaries in Europe, France was unable to stop the German advance. Within weeks, Paris was occupied and the country surrendered. Much of Western Europe was now under Nazi control. But one nation refused to give up the fight: Britain. In the skies above the country, the Royal Air Force battled the German Luftwaffe in what became known as the Battle of Britain. German bombers attacked cities and military bases, hoping to destroy Britain's defenses before launching an invasion. Night after night, London and other cities endured massive bombing raids during a period known as the Blitz. Despite the destruction, British fighter pilots defended their skies with incredible courage. The Battle of Britain became the first major defeat for Nazi Germany and forced Hitler to abandon his invasion plans. Meanwhile, the war continued to grow. Germany formed alliances with Italy and Japan, creating the Axis powers. Opposing them were the Allied nations, including Britain, China, and later the Soviet Union and the United States. The conflict was rapidly spreading across the world. On December 7, 1941, the war took a dramatic turn. Japanese aircraft launched a surprise attack on the American naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Battleships exploded, aircraft were destroyed, and thousands of American soldiers and sailors were killed. The next day, the United States declared war and entered the global conflict. While fighting raged in the Pacific Ocean, another enormous struggle was unfolding in Europe. In 1941, Hitler launched a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. The Eastern Front became the largest and deadliest battlefield in human history. Millions of soldiers fought across vast distances, enduring brutal winters, hunger, and constant combat. One of the most important battles occurred in the city of Stalingrad. For months, German and Soviet forces fought street by street among the ruins of the destroyed city. Finally, in 1943, the German army was surrounded and forced to surrender. The defeat at Stalingrad marked a turning point in the war. From that moment on, Nazi Germany began losing ground. By 1944, the Allied nations were preparing for a massive invasion to liberate Western Europe. On June 6, 1944, thousands of ships crossed the English Channel carrying Allied soldiers toward the beaches of Normandy in France. This operation, known as D-Day, became the largest amphibious invasion in history. Soldiers stormed the beaches under heavy gunfire and artillery. Despite the enormous danger, the Allies successfully established a foothold in France. Over the following months, Allied armies pushed across Western Europe, liberating cities and towns that had been under Nazi control for years. Meanwhile, Soviet forces advanced from the east, pushing the German army back toward its homeland. By early 1945, the Allies were closing in on Germany from both sides. The final battle took place in Berlin, the capital of Nazi Germany. After intense fighting, Soviet forces captured the city. In May 1945, Germany officially surrendered. The war in Europe was finally over. However, the conflict continued in the Pacific, where the United States and its allies were still fighting against Japan. The battles across Pacific Islands were fierce and costly, and many feared that invading Japan itself would cause enormous casualties. In August 1945, the United States used a new and terrifying weapon. Atomic bombs were dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The explosions destroyed entire cities and caused unimaginable devastation. Soon after, Japan announced its surrender. After 6 long years of global conflict, the Second World War had finally ended. More than 60 million people had lost their lives. Cities across Europe and Asia lay in ruins, and millions of families were left grieving. But from the destruction came a determination to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. In 1945, nations from around the world formed the United Nations, hoping to maintain peace and cooperation between countries. World War II remains the deadliest conflict in human history, and its lessons continue to shape the world we live in today.